Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Kevin Csolak about West Side Story. He's also going to be joining the cast of Animal Kingdom for the upcoming season as well. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me. Oh my God, thank you. I'm excited.
It's an exciting time. You started as a dancer, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's all storytelling, basically. When did you decide, though, that the storytelling bug was going to hit you, basically? Was that at a young age?
Yeah, I think it was a young age. I kind of grew up in a very like artistic family. My dad's a percussionist, he's a drummer. My mom owned the dancing school Performing Arts Center. So I kind of mainly started out dancing, but like the acting classes were always around or like the vocal classes. So I was always watching people and kind of like, I didn't really have the bug for acting until I was a little older and could understand it. But as soon as I kind of started hopping into some acting classes, I just found this love for it. It wasn't this like decision. It was just kind of more of this like, this is just kind of what makes me feel good, and I'm gonna love it. And it wasn't till I was like maybe like 10 or 11 when I had to make the decision of like, okay, I'm gonna go into this industry, that I was like, okay, this is something I actually really love to do, and I want to like, try to support myself and create a career out of it.
100%. And one of your most recent projects, of course, West Side Story. Everyone's talking about it. I mean, I remember when this was announced. The film was announced. It was like the talk of the town. Has it hit you, though, that it's been out? Because I feel like that's a crazy thing. You go in and you make it, right? The trailer comes out, and it's been out for a good amount of time, nominated for a lot of Academy Awards. I mean, has it hit you yet? Do you feel like?
In waves. I feel like the first time it really hit me, because we filmed it in like the summer of 2019. It was supposed to come out in 2020, and then it got pushed. So that kind of like it getting pushed was like, oh, okay. And then it kind of I got comfortable with like, okay, it's going to come out when it comes out, and I have to just accept that. But then once it came out, it wasn't until, I think it hit me initially when we first saw it, obviously with the cast. We all were freaking out. We got like our own private screening. And then it was the premieres were crazy, but it really was actually, I rented out a theater with a couple other cast members to have like our own kind of like private with our families. Yeah. I think that really hit me, that I was like, oh, the world is about to see this, or isn't currently seeing it at the time. So that was kind of like the ultimate kind of slap in the face of like, oh, this isn't just like, this is a movie that's going to be seen around the world. And then now it's streaming on Disney Plus and stuff. So really now everyone can see it from the comfort of their couch.
I know. So I should have started that. I should have started West Side Story streaming on Disney Plus.
Yeah, right.
I gotta redo the intro. Then.
Come on, man.
It's interesting too. I mean, iconic is the word. Like the music, West Side Story is an iconic musical. I don't know what else. There's not much more to say. I mean, the singing, the dancing, but the unbelievable aesthetic of this film is, I think, something, because obviously the focal point is like this, the music, right? That's always going to be the focal point, but how it looks is, man. Right?
You can't. Well, I think that's just like, it's just like it seems effortless, but there's so much like Paul Tazwell in the costumes, Adam Stockhausen with the production, like Steven, the cinematographer, Janusz Kaminski. Like I think Steven just like brought together this incredible, everything just like lined up perfectly. And I think we felt that on set. It was the most seamless set I've ever been on, and never felt like high stakes, or really just, it felt like high stakes to Steven Spielberg, but but even in that sense, like it felt like it was just kind of this guy who was looking eye to eye to you. I never felt like it was like, when it actually was interacting with him, it didn't ever feel like it was like, oh my God, I'm looking up to you. It was almost like, I almost at times felt like he was looking up to us, because like casting, they hired a bunch of Broadway theater performers. Some of us had done TV and film, but a lot of us hadn't. So it was this beautiful kind of respect, like creative, like space respect. And I think you see the results of it on screen. I think it's a beautiful, like you're saying, it's just like effortlessly beautiful, the whole thing.
It's interesting too, because you bring up Steven Spielberg, of course, but I find it interesting because, like any other kind of project that's kind of adapted, there's characters that existed that people are familiar with, and you are all tasked to kind of bring a new spin to it, bring that to life and everything. And I'm sure there's obviously going to be, it's going to be overwhelming. There's going to be pressure. It's there. However, I will say, and I think if you talk to any of the cast, I'm sure you're going to say this right now, I'm sure the excitement that you get to be working on the project just kind of takes over a little bit.
Man, it really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And we got to have like a beautiful like 3.5 months of rehearsal prior to just our first shoot day.
Yep.
So I think it was a time for us as a cast. I felt like you were almost putting on a Broadway show or a theatrical show, a stage show, because we had that much amount of time. Sometimes with stage shows you don't even get that much time. But it was great. We got to really live in the material. So when we like showed up on set, we were able to just kind of be in that excitement and let that carry us through the day. And 12-hour days felt like they were like 3 hours long. Like it was just like days were passing by. And if I could go back, I would redo that summer just over and over again.
Are you getting used to the landscape and the mindsets of being a storyteller and actor, where you work on projects and then there's kind of the different waves and kind of steps of like getting a project out there? Like, it's announced, the cast is announced, the artwork comes out, right? And the first look, the first look I feel like is the one where everyone's like, all right, this is real, right?
It's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
The advertisement's happening. Yeah.
And then release dates, trailers, right? Are you getting, obviously, this was a massive project. There was a lot of hype around it for like, it felt like many years. It felt like when it was announced, but like, are you getting used to that a little bit? Because different projects are going to be different, like the scale of them, but like the different kind of waves of kind of dissemination is interesting, right?
It for sure is. And I think, I think to a certain extent it's funny because I feel like I would be getting used to it. But at the same time, I'm almost more used to like the front end of it with like auditions. We all like, especially now, we're auditioning for so many things, and like any actor, performer, like you audition for maybe like 7, like a bunch of these auditions, and you maybe get like 3 out of like, let's say out of 10, like you get 3 out of 10. But we're doing hundreds of auditions a year, so I almost got used to on the front end of things being like, okay, great, like if this happens, whatever. But then once you actually get the project, I feel like you hold on to it so preciously.
Yeah,
doesn't matter how many projects you do. I think each one has its own special meaning and its own special place in the world, and you want it to do so well because every project's a new family and a new kind of creative space that you develop. So I think for that aspect of it, for me, I don't really get used to it. I think the first look, it feels like Christmas Day,
Yeah,
it really does.
It's a whole beast now of like a project getting out. Like I do these interviews and I'm like, man, like I remember the day West Side Story was announced. Like I remember it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And I'll never forget the day that I got a call from my agent saying that I got this, and that I booked West Side and I was going to do it. Like it's like I almost had like all the moments of like first day of rehearsal. I remember that. Like it's all so vivid.
It's like steps, right? It's like a multi-step experience, basically. Always, essentially.
It always is, and then like let alone when you're like under the greats of like Jerome Robbins, Arthur Lawrence, Stephen Sondheim, and like Leonard Bernstein, and then Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner, and like Janine Tesori, like all these people. It really is. It's mind-boggling, and I keep having to pinch myself and really look back on the lessons that I learned. And it's a beautiful thing, and I'm never going to take it for granted.
It's like you knew I was going to ask, because I was going to ask you about lessons specifically on this, because, no matter whether, you've been doing this for a long time or you're new to it, everyone's going to have experience. People that have been working in the industry for like, over 30 years that I've interviewed say like, I always learn something on any new project I work on, right? Yeah. What were some learning experiences for you specifically working on West Side Story, Kevin?
I would say with West Side, it was for me, it was truly I think we all learn this in different ways, but I think there's different levels of how deep we actually understand this, of kind of going home and doing your homework and coming back and being really just ready to bring what you need to bring to be your piece within the whole puzzle. I think especially with film and TV, we can very much as actors get very selfish or make it about you. But I think this was such a big cast, and I think Steven did a great job of leveling the playing field for everybody. We all kind of felt like we were one force creating this thing. But I think within that, everyone has their own responsibility to go home, and you need to, we rehearsed for 4 months, but within that, I still had to go home and like practice and get ready to come to set and then be prepared. But it really, I felt like everyone did that on this project. There was no one who came in and was like, forgetting lines or didn't do this or forgetting steps. We all kind of were very prepared. And I think with that preparation, it just made the shoot day so seamless. We were coming up with different things on set. We were trying different ways. With Officer Krupke, when we did that, it starts out with a slow version. which we start the song slow. But on the day, we were like, actually, Steven was like, we're actually going to need to do a fast version, if that's okay. We're just going to like, we had already gotten the old one because we just ran through it and it was beautiful. And he's like, but let's just do like a fast version. Let's just see. And like the choreographer and we all had to just kind of be like, okay. And within like 10 minutes with the whole set just looking at us waiting, we had to like re-choreograph and re-come up with this whole new beginning that we hadn't rehearsed. But because we all were so prepared in our characters and the steps and we were so in sync with the choreographer, it happened like that. And I almost want to like get the directorial version of the movie and like see that version, like see what that version would be.
I feel like when you're casted for this, the first thing that's going to come to mind is even people that haven't like seen like the original West Side Story, that heard the music, like it's huge casts, right? Because it's the different gags. So I feel like the first thing that will come to mind would be like, wow, like I'm gonna be working with a lot of people on this project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my God. When we were doing Dance at the Gym, I think it was what we had 30 Jets, 30 Sharks. So we had 60 cast, and then we had, or maybe even more because all the leads were there too. So I think it was maybe about like a 65, 70 person cast, and then 150 extras. Mm-hmm. But those days were the best. I think we started out with Dance at the Gym. Dance at the Gym was like our first, one of our first big numbers we did. It was the second week.
That's amazing.
We had such a blast. We were in some high school gym in Brooklyn, and it was amazing.
It's the greatest thing to like hear the behind the scenes of like these huge, amazing, monumental projects, and just like the amount of fun that was made making these big projects. Like that's like the coolest thing about doing this gig, Kevin, like interviewing storytellers like yourself, just hearing how fun it was for you to make something that's just having such a big global audience and impact. You know what I mean? It's the coolest thing.
Yeah, and you found that's what was so cool about it too, is the cast was from all over the globe. People from Puerto Rico, Cuba, Panama, Toronto, California, like it was a beautiful New Jersey. Shout out to Jersey. Yeah. It was just beautiful, and we all felt the energy and the excitement, and we all just kind of like really supported each other through the process. And it was I think we almost were more focused. That energy was focused more on the work rather than like the excitement of like the world's gonna see this. It almost there was a part of me that almost wanted to like have like not the rest of the world see it, because it was such an amazing summer. I almost kind of wanted it to like hold it so close. Like I don't want anyone else to see it. Mine, friends and family can see it, but like it was just too fun for everyone.
That's like such an interesting point. Before we wrap up too, I do have to bring up, I brought up at the top, you are joining Animal Kingdom, which is one of my favorite shows. I just want to say, obviously, like all I want to ask is, what's it like joining an established show that has done so well, coming in kind of for like the final season basically, but what's just that kind of mindset like for you? Like what showing up to like an already established kind of project? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, coming into Animal Kingdom, prior to the audition, I didn't know Animal Kingdom, but then when I got the first call back and they were like, hey, really watch, because I went in for I play a younger version of Pope. Yeah, I play Andrew, which is under Sean Hattasey. So he's very specific. If you know the show, he's very specific, kind of in his demeanor and his his social cues and stuff. So I like binged watched the show. In the matter of like a week, I watched like all the seasons.
The whole thing. They don't waste time with Pope, eh? Like you get right into it.
Yeah. Oh my God. So for me, I fell in love with it, and then honestly, to be honest, it was daunting coming into this, like being like, you're our guy, and being like, okay, well, I hope you didn't make the wrong decision, but I don't want to ruin this beautiful, amazing show, this great structure that they had. But they were the most welcoming. I mean, I think that's what was the biggest thing that I saw, that I felt, was they came to me with open arms, and they're like, listen, whatever you need, you're doing an amazing work. And I was like checking in with them when I was like doing my own rehearsal prior to going to rehearsal. And it really was daunting at first, but that was really comforted with just how they handled it, bringing me, Darren Mann, and Jasper Polish in, who play the younger versions. And season 6 is gonna be cool. It's gonna be a beautiful setup of, I think, what the show references a lot, but you don't see prior to season 1. So
that show is wild. That's all I'm gonna say. Like that's one of those shows where that's all you have to say. That show is wild.
Yeah, if out there, if y'all haven't seen this, if y'all haven't seen Animal Kingdom, you gotta jump in. It's a ride.
It's so great, and we can't forget about West Side Story on Disney Plus, right?
And Disney Plus West Side Story. You can't. I think we're also on HBO Max too.
I know.
Also on HBO
It's
Max.
amazing. It's award season. Academy Awards around the corner. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on Popternative. This was great chatting with you, man.
It was great chatting with you too. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, so Disney Plus, HBO Max, West Side Story. Where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Instagram is my vice. Instagram is where I'm at. Kevin Csolak on Instagram.
Amazing. This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Kevin and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.